I hadn't been back to that office since Grandpa Merrick got sick. I only came now because I promised him I would. The conference room smelled like old books and furniture polish, like secrets hiding in the wood. My mom sat quietly fixing her pearl necklace. My dad sat stiff, arms crossed like he was ready for a fight. And Kalia, always perfect, wore a clean white shirt with a fake smile, like she already knew she'd won. Mr. Halpern, Grandpa's lawyer for over 30 years, cleared his throat and opened a folder slowly. "We are here to read the final wishes of Merrick Wynne," he said. He looked at me before reading. "To Kalia Wynne," he said, "the Jackson Hole cabin and the vintage 1959 guitar." Kalia blinked, expecting more. "To Everett and Letty Wynne," he continued, "the old grandfather clock, a few vinyl records, and a $10,000 donation made in their name." My mom scoffed. "That can't be right." Mr. Halpern didn't react. He turned the page. "To Serafina Wynne, my granddaughter, my confidant," he read, "I leave my full financial estate, $38,246,000. Silence. Then, "What?" my dad shouted. Kalia's jaw tightened. My mom stood up, red in the face. "She left us. She doesn't deserve it." But Mr. Halpern kept going. "This will was signed and filed by Mr. Wynne 3 months before he passed." They didn't hear the rest. My dad lunged across the table, grabbed the check from my hands, and held it up like it was fake. "You think this buys you back in?" he said, then lit a match. The check caught fire and curled into black ash. My mom tore the envelope I was holding. "This is what happens when you betray your family," she whispered. I didn't move. I didn't cry. I just smiled, the kind of smile that keeps you strong when everything inside you wants to break, because what they destroyed wasn't real, and they didn't know. The real envelope was still hidden in my coat. The last time I spoke to my dad, he said, "If you walk out that door, don't come back." I was 19. I had turned down a full scholarship to his favorite business school and picked a small art college instead. He said it was a hobby. Mom didn't say anything, just stood behind him with her lips tight. 3 weeks later, I came home for Thanksgiving. My bedroom was gone. The bed, the desk, even Grandpa's notes, all gone. Now there were 2 gray chairs, a fake flower, and a picture of a lighthouse I'd never seen. The door plate had been changed. Serafina was now guest room A. Kalia passed me in the hall and laughed. "Don't be dramatic. You weren't using it." They didn't cut me off all at once. At first, just forgotten birthdays, no replies, then the rent check didn't come. When I called, Mom just sighed. "Actions have consequences, Sarah. You wanted to be on your own. Now you are." I would have lost the apartment, but Grandpa wired the exact amount 2 days later. No questions. After that, money kept coming. Never a lot, but always just enough. And with it, letters, written in his shaky handwriting. He never told me to come home, but every word said, "I see you." The last letter came 3 weeks before he died. It said, "Survival isn't weakness. It's proof of strength." I kept that letter in my wallet. Through every rejection, every silent birthday, every lonely night, and now, as the fake check turned to ash, I touched the real envelope hidden in my coat. When I got home, I locked the door and kicked off my shoes. My legs were shaking, not from fear, just tired. I laid my coat on a chair and pulled out the envelope Grandpa gave me a month before. He died. He gave it to me in a diner, wrapped in a napkin. "Don't open it," he said, "unless they burn it." And they had. I broke the wax seal and opened it carefully. Inside was a check, just like the one they burned. Same amount, same signature. But this one had red letters. Non-negotiable copy. On the back was a USB drive and a short note in Grandpa's writing. "Let them burn it, then open the real file." I plugged it in. There was no password, no loading, just a single folder. Inheritance inside was a legal document, a trust transfer. It was signed, witnessed, and filed through a firm I didn't know. The account number ended in numbers I recognized. Grandpa's birthday, backward. The money was real. The transfer had already happened. The check they burned, it wasn't just fake. It was a trap. I leaned back. The apartment was so quiet it felt heavy. This wasn't about them anymore. It hadn't been for a long time. Grandpa didn't just trust me. He planned this, step by step. And now, so would I. The next morning, I tried to check my bank balance. The screen glitched. Then, Account not found. I tried another card. Declined. I typed everything again, carefully this time. Still nothing. Maybe it was a bank error? A fraud. Warning? I called the bank. The man sounded unsure. Sorry, Miss Wynne, your account is marked as inactive. Then he paused. Actually, deceased. I froze. That's a mistake, I said. He paused again. It was certified by the registrar's office 2 weeks ago. I hung up before my voice cracked. The DMV confirmed it an hour later. The woman frowned at the screen. You're flagged as legally deceased, she said. Death certificate under the name Serafina Letewin. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed pity. You'll need to file a correction. It takes months. I didn't say anything. I walked out into the cold. It felt like the world had split in half. Like everything I thought was solid could just disappear. Across the street, under the bare trees, a woman stood still. Dark sunglasses. Pale blue scarf. Watching me. That was the same scarf my mother swore the dry cleaners had lost 3 years ago. But there it was, around her neck. She didn't smile. She didn't look away. She was just watching me. I stepped back into the crowd and started walking, not quickly, but with purpose. When I finally turned the corner, she was gone. Back at my apartment, I opened the drawer where I kept old letters and laid them out like breadcrumbs. This wasn't just about being cut off. I was being erased, carefully, quietly, fully, and someone was watching to make sure it stayed that way. I opened my laptop, took out the USB Grandpa had left me, and stared at the folder he'd named Inheritance. I knew the next step had to be in there. That little brass key had been in my nightstand for years, wrapped in the same soft handkerchief Grandpa had handed me on my 18th birthday. I never asked what it opened. He just smiled and said, "You'll need this someday, when you're ready to claim yourself." That day was now. Langford Private Vaults didn't have a sign. It sat behind an unmarked door on the edge of the historic district, hidden between a wine shop and an old bookstore. The woman at the front desk saw the key, checked a logbook, and led me down a cold, narrow hallway. She didn't ask anything. Samantha Chiwantamindapens. Farther we walked, the colder the air got. Finally, she stopped at a quiet metal room lined with drawers. Box 17, she said, unlocking one of them and sliding it forward. I waited until she left. Then I reached inside. There was a black fireproof folder. Its surface was cold and smooth. I opened it carefully. The first page was a cashier's check, real this time, with the bank seal pressed deep into the paper. It was made out to me. $38 million. The next documents were thick, official land deeds, stamped and notarized. They gave me full ownership of every property the family had buried in legal trusts. Then came the stock certificates. All the voting. Shares. Full executive power. Every paper had my name printed across it. At the bottom was a small velvet pouch with another flash drive inside. Back home, I slid it into my laptop and clicked the only file. Grandpa's face appeared on the screen. He looked older than I remembered. Sitting in the sunroom, golden light on his shoulder. "If you're watching this, Sarah," he said slowly, "then they did what I feared. They tried to erase you." His voice was calm. Every word chosen with care. You were always the quiet one. You saw everything. You felt too much. You asked for nothing. That's why they were afraid of you. That's why I trusted you. He leaned forward. His eyes were tired but sharp. This isn't just money. It's memory. It's legacy. And if they tried to burn yours down, this is how you rise. The screen went black, and I knew where I had to go next. There was an envelope taped just under. The peephole of my front door. Plain white. No stamp, no handwriting. Just one line in neat black letters. They didn't burn the real check. Look in box array at Langford Security. No signature. No hint of who left it. Just silence on the other side of the door. I sat at my table for a long time, just staring at it. Then I reached for my laptop. Langford had more than one vault. Box. Array wasn't listed anywhere online, but I knew the name. Grandpa once laughed and said, "That's where they keep the real bones." I logged into the old estate email Grandpa had made when the trust changed over. There was one unread message I hadn't noticed before. The subject was blank. The message said, "They're not after the money. They're after the signature." There was an attachment. an unsigned asset transfer form. At the top, Win Carroll. Holdings. Below that, another version, but signed with my name, but I hadn't signed anything. They forged it. They were selling the company, pretending I had agreed. I opened the company's internal dashboard. Grandpa had given me access. Months ago. Everything was still there. Transaction records, property changes, asset moves. All approved under my name, while my legal status still showed me as deceased. I wasn't just removed. I was a loophole, a silence they thought they could use. They really believed they'd gotten away with it. But they were sloppy, arrogant. They left a trail because they never imagined someone like me would come back. I opened Grandpa's flash drive again and found a folder labeled Charleston Land Archives. My name was on every property, and I knew where I had to go next. The name on the lease was W.M. Trill. Grandpa used it for silly things. Fishing licenses, antique record bids. It was an inside joke. He once said, "When Merrick," like the flower that grows where it's not supposed to. I remembered that as I drove past the city limits, through broken-down farmland and dusty side roads, until I reached a quiet row of storage units. Number 19B. The lock clicked open with the brass. Key from the velvet pouch. The air inside was dry, but not untouched. Someone had been here. One metal shelf lined the far wall. In the middle, like it had been waiting just for me, was a black fireproof briefcase. Inside it, a manila folder, and in that folder, my original birth certificate, not the one with my stepfather's. Name added later. This one was mine, just mine, Serafina Letewin, no hyphen, no edits. Next came the letters, 12 in total, all written in Grandpa's handwriting. Each one dated just days after major family events. My college graduation, my parents' vow renewal, the Christmas I spent alone. He had written them all, but never sent them. And in more than one, he repeated the same line. They won't erase. You? Not while I'm still standing. Underneath the letters was a notarized will, dated after the date listed on my death certificate. His signature was steady, clear, and in it, I was named the sole beneficiary. Not Callia, not Everett, not Leet, me, but what truly stole my breath was the deed. Win Estate, Charleston, SC owner, Serafina. Letty Winme fingers hovered over the seal. I hadn't just inherited a house, I had inherited the ground beneath their power. And they had no idea. I sat down on a cracked plastic chair near the door, clutching the folder to my chest, feeling the shape of my name for the first time in years. I wasn't a ghost, and they had no idea I was already walking back through the door they thought they'd shut. Sylvia Orton didn't say much when I handed her the briefcase. She just opened it, scanned the documents with sharp eyes, and said calmly, "We'll move fast." There was no awe in her voice, just certainty, like she'd seen too many family betrayals to be surprised. We filed the challenge within 48 hours. The hearing was set for Monday. The courthouse smelled like waxed floors and old decisions. I wore black, not for mourning, for armor, because not all protection clanks when it moves. My parents arrived together. Behind them, a young lawyer in a suit too tight and a smirk too loose. Kalia trailed in after, lip gloss perfect, phone in hand. They didn't look at me. Judge Kinley presided. He was known for short sentences and zero tolerance for theatrics. When our case was called, he gave Sylvia a nod. She stood, firm and steady. "We are here to contest the execution of the estate of Merrick Wynne," she said, on grounds of forgery, coercion, and identity suppression. The opposing counsel rolled his eyes. "Your Honor, my clients are the documented beneficiaries. Any posthumous changes are not only unfounded, they're emotional." Sylvia didn't flinch. She tapped her tablet once. The courtroom lights dimmed. Screen behind the bench lit up. Grandpa's face appeared. "If they're watching this," he said, "it means they tried to bury her." His voice was calm, measured. "Let the record show. I changed the will knowingly. I was under no pressure. I named Serafina my sole heir because she earned it, because she endured." The courtroom went still. Callia's mouth opened, then closed. My mother paled. My father shifted like he might protest, but Judge Kinley raised one hand. "Enough." He looked straight at them, voice cold. "You didn't just try to manipulate this court. You tried to erase a person." Then he turned to Me? This court recognizes Serafina Wynn as the sole legal heir to Merrick Wynn's estate. All other assets are frozen pending further investigation. I exhaled, not from relief, but from release. The damage was done. Now came the reckoning. Kalia texted twice before I answered. The first message, please. The second, can we just talk? Just us. Like before. I agreed to meet her at a cafe near the courthouse. Neutral ground. No history. She was already there when I arrived. Stirring a coffee she hadn't touched. Her smile trembled when she saw me. I didn't know, she said, before I could even sit. About the death certificate. About the will. They told me it was routine paperwork. I just signed where Dad told me to. I didn't speak. I set my phone on the table, screen dark, but recording. I swear, Sarah, I didn't mean for any of this. I didn't know they'd go that far. Her voice cracked. I thought we were just trying to protect what was ours. What was yours? I repeated. She flinched. I mean, I didn't think you'd fight. You always just left. That part was true, but I wasn't the girl who left anymore. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was scared. I thought if I didn't go along, they'd cut me out too. She wiped away a tear with the sleeve of her expensive coat. It wasn't that I didn't believe she felt regret. I just didn't care. No rage, no threats. Just silence. I stood, pocketed my phone, and walked away. Her voice followed me halfway across the cafe, but I didn't turn back. Outside, the air smelled like distant rain. I pulled my coat tight and walked, not toward the past, not even toward revenge, just forward. Waiting in my inbox was one last file Grandpa had left behind. Transfer of deed, effective upon confirmation. The courthouse steps were quiet. No cameras, no confrontation, just my boots tapping down the stone like they belonged. In my hand was the deed, my name etched in bold under the county seal. No more doubt, no more pretending. I stopped at the last step, turned back to face the building I had fought so hard to be heard in, held up the deed, snapped a photo, no smile, just stillness. The caption I typed was simple. They tried to burn the legacy. I inherited the foundation. Then I powered off my phone and slipped it into my bag. No victory dance, no announcement, no need. I walked 5 blocks in silence to the small brick studio I had closed on 2 days earlier. Tall windows, scuffed floors, tucked between a florist and a forgotten laundromat. It wasn't much, but it was mine. I unlocked the front door, stepped inside, reached for the envelope. Grandpa had left in the vault, the one marked, "Start here." Inside were 3 things: a hand-drawn sketch of the studio, a half-completed business license in Grandpa's handwriting, and a letter with 4 underlined words. Make something they can't erase. I sat cross-legged on the dusty floor. The weight of everything I had lost and reclaimed settled around me like dust after a storm. This wasn't revenge. It wasn't even justice. It was a beginning. And this time, I was ready.